All right, Browns fans, let's get started because this offseason is shaping up to be one of the most pivotal in franchise history. Be sure to hit that like button to stay in the know. With the NFL draft fast approaching, there's one question dominating all discussions: who will be the next Browns quarterback? The Deshaun Watson experiment appears to be over, and the franchise needs to make a move that will establish long-term success. And according to Browns insider Zach Jackson, there's already a clear favorite: Cam Ward. During the NFL Combine, Ward and Shedeur Sanders were the center of attention, despite not participating in practice. However, Ward reportedly stood out in interviews, displaying the poise and leadership that teams covet in a franchise quarterback. Jackson even said, "I think there's separation. I think this is a quarterback draft, and it's Cam Ward." If he's right, the Browns may have to trade with the Titans for the first overall pick to secure their guy. But Cleveland isn't the only team interested in that top pick. Several franchises are reportedly inquiring about Tennessee's willingness to move down, which could lead to a bidding war. The Browns currently hold the number 2 pick, but if another team leapfrogs them, Ward could be off the board before Cleveland even gets a chance. The front office has a major decision to make: stand pat and take the next best option, or make an aggressive move to get their man. While quarterback is the biggest need, the Browns have several other glaring holes on the roster. The offense was historically bad last season, averaging just 15.2 points per game. That's why there's growing support for drafting Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka with the 33rd pick. Cleveland.com's Lance Riesland called Egbuka a complete receiver with an incredibly high ceiling, someone who could immediately step in as WR2 behind Jerry Jeudy. With over 1,000 receiving yards in both his sophomore and senior seasons, Egbuka has the production and skill set to be a difference maker. But is wide receiver the right move at 33? Some believe the Browns should prioritize running back, especially with uncertainty surrounding Nick Chubb's future. Amarian Hampton out of North Carolina has been gaining traction as a potential second-round pick, bringing a physical rushing style that could revitalize Cleveland's ground game. If the Browns opt for a different approach, though, they could target a tight end like Mason Taylor from LSU to give the new quarterback another reliable weapon. Meanwhile, the situation with Deshaun Watson remains murky. ESPN's Dan Graziano reported that Watson may have already played his last snap for Cleveland, which would mark the end of a costly and disastrous era for the franchise. Watson's 7-game stint last season saw him throw for just 1,148 yards with 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. His Achilles injury sidelined him for the remainder of the year, and now, with the Browns seemingly moving in a new direction, his departure feels inevitable. If Watson is done in Cleveland, could the Patriots be an option? New England is in need of quarterback help and may be open to taking on Watson if the price is right. There's even speculation that the Patriots could trade backup QB Joe Milton and then acquire Watson as a veteran presence to mentor Drake May. While Watson's value has plummeted, the Patriots might see him as a low-risk, high-reward addition if they can structure the deal in their favor. And then there's Myles Garrett. The All-Pro pass rusher has publicly expressed frustration with the direction of the team, stating that he wants to be competing for championships at this stage of his career. Despite his trade request, the Browns have remained adamant that they will not move him. Pro Football Focus's Thomas Valentine believes trading Garrett would signal the start of another full-scale rebuild, something the front office is desperately trying to avoid. But with the roster in transition and no clear path to contention, keeping Garrett against his wishes might not be sustainable in the long run. There's also the question of whether the Browns should consider trading down from number 2 instead of moving up. If they don't believe Ward is significantly better than the next best quarterback option, trading down could allow them to acquire additional draft capital while still securing a solid player at a premium position. The problem? Cleveland hasn't had a true franchise quarterback since Bernie Kosar, and passing on one now could haunt them for years. Another name gaining traction is J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. While Ward and Sanders have been the focus of most draft discussions, McCarthy's strong performance in the college football playoff has scouts intrigued. He has the physical tools and leadership qualities teams look for, and some analysts believe he is just as much upside as Ward, if not more. Could the Browns pivot to McCarthy if Ward is off the board? And if so, would that be the right move? As we look at potential free agency moves, the Browns could also address their offensive line. Protecting the new quarterback is going to be crucial, and with injuries plaguing the line last season, Cleveland may look to add veteran depth. There's talk of pursuing a versatile lineman like Jonah Williams from Cincinnati, who has experience at both tackle and guard. The Browns could also explore a trade for a more established lineman if they feel they need immediate help. On the defensive side, even if Garrett stays, the Browns still need help in the secondary. A name to watch in the later rounds of the draft is Kamari Lassiter from Georgia, a physical corner with the potential to develop into a lockdown defender. With opposing quarterbacks picking apart Cleveland's secondary last season, upgrading this unit has to be a priority. So, Browns fans, it's time to weigh in. Should the team go all in on Cam Ward and trade up to number 1? Would you prefer they stay put and take the best available player at number 2? And what about Emeka Egbuka? Should Cleveland prioritize him at 33, or is a running back the better choice? Would trading down from number 2 make more sense in the long run? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The Browns are sitting on 12 projected draft picks, but the real question is, how will they use them? And more importantly, what is the plan for that number 2 overall pick? The NFL Combine gave us a ton of information, some good, some bad, and some downright confusing. A standout safety put himself on the map, some concerning offensive line metrics raised eyebrows, and the running back position? Still a big question mark. But the biggest takeaway? Cleveland's draft board is getting smaller. Assistant GM Glenn Cook gave us some insight, revealing that only about 80% of the 329 players at the Combine are still on the Browns board. That's already a huge cut, but here's where it gets even more interesting. GM Andrew Berry has an even smaller board. So what does that mean? It means the Browns are zeroing in on their guys, and every decision from here on out is going to be calculated. Now, let's talk about the big one, the second overall pick. Rumors have been flying since the Combine, and while we don't have an answer yet, one thing is clear, the Browns are in a position of power. They could take a quarterback, they could trade down, or they could shock everyone and take the best player available, regardless of position. The front office is being tight-lipped, but if they truly believe there's only one elite quarterback in this draft, they might be looking to move up to that number 1 spot. Of course, building a strong team isn't just about that first pick. The Browns need impact players across the board, wide receiver, offensive line, running back, and let's not forget the defensive side of the ball. Eliminating prospects who don't fit the team's vision is part of the process, and when the final board is set, we're probably looking at around 150 to 180 names that Cleveland feels confident about. So, Browns fans, what do you think? Should the team go all in for a franchise quarterback? Is there a hidden gem they should target later in the draft? And what position should they prioritize? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. The draft is coming up fast, and you better believe we'll be breaking down every move the Browns make. Go Browns!